The hour of 7 o'clock having arrived, I'm going to call the council to order. Let the roll reflect that all council members are present and a quorum has been established. Council, before us, we have the minutes of the regular meeting of the City Council on August 7th, 2017. Any additions or corrections to the minutes of that meeting? Seeing none, they stand approved. Council items to be considered. Any council items to be considered? Councilmember Fulch.
Your Honor, I would like to request a couple of things to be pulled off the consent agenda.
Okay, can we wait till we get to consent agenda?
I'm sorry, am I not there? Okay, yep, all right,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay, no problem. Is there any additional items to be considered? Seeing none, we'll go to consent agenda. Councilmember Fulch.
Thank you. I would like to ask that the number 3, to accept the Renee Sola proposal
Okay.
be pulled. Number 11, the first reading of the order public hearing for the City Code Amendment rezoning. And number 12, the rejection of bids for the Leduc Historic Estate roofing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, council, what I'm going to do is, we have tonight on the agenda that we're going to go into closed door session for discussion of offer or purchase of city property. So what I'd like to do is take these items up first. So we're going to, under community development, well, because we've got stuff there, we'll just put these items there at the beginning. So we'll go in that order, 3, 11, and 12 from the consent agenda, and put them above the items of community development so we can take them up. Melanie, did you have a statement?
Your Honor and Council, I have one more amendment to the consent agenda if the time is appropriate. Item number 4, a resolution for Leduc Historic Estate. The date has changed. All the other details are the same, but the date has changed from September 10th to December 9th. And with that, staff would recommend it still remains appropriate on consent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. Okay, Councilmember Fulcher, would you like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, did you have something to say, sir?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion
Yes?
to move the Duke re-roof bid findings to a different part of the meeting for discussion.
I'm sorry, we're going to take that up as our number 3rd item tonight, so it's going to come up shortly. Okay? Okay, Councilmember Fulch.
So my motion is with those items removed to approve the consent agenda then.
Okay, is there a second on that? Second by Councilmember Vaughn. We have the motion before us with those 3 items removed, and that on number 4 has been moved from September 10th to September 9th. September? December 9th, excuse me, December 9th. December 9th. Okay, that's the motion before the body, and it's been seconded. Is there further discussion to that motion? Okay, Councilmember Balsanic.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I just had a question on item 15. What is a premise permit for lawful gambling?
Councilmember Balsanic is for pull tabs.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, is there any further discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion, say aye. 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 Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Okay, we're going to go to number 3 on the consent agenda. It's now before the council to accept the proposal for a community solar garden subscription. Councilmember Fulch, you brought that up?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to ask our city administrator, Melanie, was there a presentation that was going to be had then?
Your Honor and Council members, we have a representative from Renee Sola here tonight, but it was my understanding that this item was going to be referred to a committee of the council, and so we were going to withhold any presentation, bring it to the committee, and then at some future date, bring it back to the council for action.
Okay. Okay. Councilmember Vaughn.
And that was me. Sorry, Councilmember Fultz, I had asked earlier, I was planning on pulling that myself. I'm recommending that this goes back to a committee to discuss because personally, me reading through there, it was a 25-year agreement for the city was just too long for me to sign without knowing more details. I want to see more about it, but I like The concept I want to hear more about, and I think it should go and get vetted in a committee first before it comes back to us.
Okay. What committee were you thinking, Councilmember?
Utilities Committee.
Utilities Committee, thank you. Councilmember Vaughn makes a motion to send this item to Utility Committee. Is there a second to that? Seconded by Councilmember Lund. Okay, that's the motion before the body. Now discussion, discussion of that motion. Okay. Councilmember Fultz.
Your Honor, I fully agree with Councilmember Vaughn. It is a very complicated issue, and I understand, I have a lot of background with these solar subscriptions for cities, and so I fully understand all of the issues that are presented in here, but I do feel that it's not appropriate for a consent agenda, and that it does, I want to make sure that everybody is fully informed, as you like to say.
Yes.
And I have just a couple questions that I'm concerned about as well, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Vaughn.
Just one more, and I'm not on the committee, so for whoever gets to be on that fantastic committee, I think my biggest hangup on the proposal in front of us was, we as a city haven't discussed what our sustainability goals are, and I think this affects our sustainability goals. So I asked that the committee discuss that, because this is a big commitment by us signing this agreement for that long, and I know we're in the Green Step program, but I think this would help that, but I just want to make sure that we're talking about, as a city, what is our sustainability goals?
Very good. I think it's an excellent course of action. Is there any further discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Okay, we go to number 11 on the consent agenda that we pulled. It was the first reading, public hearing for the Kateria Smith Funeral Home. Councilmember Fultz.
Thank you, Your Honor. I understand that we're just looking at rezoning at this point, but I just thought it was really interesting that a funeral home with a crematorium was considered an appropriate use for a regional shopping center. And when I was looking at the staff write-up, and then it talked about what a C4 use is, and it said uses that are permitted, and then uses by special permit. And I just thought, I was wondering if we had a gap somehow in our zoning regulations when the burning of human remains is not a special use permit, that it's considered a commercial use. And so I just thought it was very curious. And I was a little concerned about the crematorium being right next to a restaurant as well. And so I guess I feel like I have some concerns, and I know that this went before the Planning Commission, and it said that there was some discussion there. Maybe Mr. Hinsman could enlighten us a little bit about what the background is there.
Okay. John, would you care to comment? Welcome to the meeting. Glad to have you here, sir.
Yeah, as far as the Planning Commission discussion of that, we did meet last week, had a public hearing on that. The Planning Commission discussion was probably more on the precedent and history of zoning on that property. We didn't get into much of a discussion on the crematorium aspect of that. To address your other question on it as far as the code goes itself, we're looking at this as a retail and service use, so the service aspect of it. Funeral homes and crematorium we look at as both falling into that. We did some research prior to making that assumption into the operation of homes and felt comfortable in moving forward with that recommendation.
We can certainly have that discussion when it comes before us at the next meeting.
Okay. If I could just request if there's
Sure.
any other background
Councilmember?
information about that. It just seems kind of odd to me that a crematorium would be considered retail commercial service, but I guess.
I'm sure we'll be able to look into it in the next 2 weeks before it
Okay.
comes to council.
All
okay?
right, sounds good.
But right now, it's within our current ordinance provisions, and that's where it's sitting based on that analysis. So we can have a bigger discussion about that 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember It's kind of highly unusual. Did you have a statement, sir?
Yes, I represent the owners of Julio's next.
Okay, I'm going to need you have, for the record, need you to come to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor Hicks and council people. I represent the ownership of the Me and Julio's, which our patio is within stone's throw of where this crematory is going to be. And I just want to make sure that there's environmental health impact studies done for something like this, to be so close to a place where they're eating open food and matter of feet away.
I know there are numerous state regulations, and perhaps what we could do tonight is make it clear, John, that we can probably have some of those regulations, what governs them, before us in our next meeting as part of this rezone and discussion of what the state regulations are.
Could we be involved in this as far as getting notice? I mean, I heard it was a public hearing last week. We had no idea it was even going on, and nobody's
Tonight's
notified
action
us.
is to call for this rezone and order a public hearing at the next meeting. So there will be a public hearing at the next city council meeting,
Okay.
which is the day after Labor Day, Tuesday, September 5th.
Okay,
That's the answer.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we need a motion to send it, to order this to a public hearing. So I'll look for that motion. Councilmember Vaughn makes that motion, seconded by Councilmember Brox. That motion is now before the body. Is there any further discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Okay, and then next we have number 12, the Leduc Historic Estate Roofing. Councilmember Folge.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was a little concerned about the staff write-up because it was very vague as to what had transpired. The staff write-up had just said that there were 2 bids that were submitted for re-roofing. One bid substantially exceeded the estimated amount, which is the budgeted amount, which is very practical. And upon completion of the due diligence of the low bidder, staff does not recommend award of the contract due to failure of the bidder to demonstrate similar experiences on past projects. And so I was wondering if Mr. Hinsman could enlighten us about that a little bit further. From the information that was presented to me by City Administrator Melanie, I cannot say your last name, Mescoli. I see now that that there were reference checks that were conducted. And so, John, maybe, was it you that had perhaps conducted the reference checks? I was curious because I'm supposing that, that you had found that they were a non-responsive bidder in respect that perhaps they did not fulfill the requirements, the minimum requirements for qualifications for the contractor.
Sure, I can address this to some extent here. I haven't been too actively involved in the process up to this point, but we did have someone from McDonald Mack, Rita Goodrich, that we were relying on to check references. In conversations that we've had with Rita, there's been some difficulty in obtaining information that we need to substantiate the experience of the low bidder on this process, specifically the work with cedar shake roofs.
Okay.
Is there further discussion? Councilmember Lund? Okay, just one moment, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Noted. I'll call on you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm just curious, what's the next steps, one way or
Melanie?
the other? I mean, what?
Your Honor and Council, it's staff recommendation that we would reject the bids, and then we would rebid the project yet this fall for construction in 2018. We have verified with our grant agency that the grant can be extended, so we are not, those funds are not at risk.
Thank you, Your
Lund.
Honor. Follow-up, these 2 bidders would have equal luxury to rebid, is that correct?
That's correct.
Councilmember Brox.
Is there something we expect to be different about this second process than was with the first? I mean, are we expecting different people to come forward? Are we expecting what's going to be different the second time around?
Well, I think in general, we'd hope that we'd have more bids to consider at that point. We did, I think, a fairly good due diligence in sending bids out directly to contractors. Hopefully, if we catch it at a different point of the year when bids may be more attractive, we might be able to get a better response from it.
Okay. Are we concerned that we don't have enough money on the project to attract bidders?
I don't know if that's the case necessarily. I know that just the number of bids that we received back, certainly we would have liked to have more to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Gentlemen, you wanted to speak before the council? Please come to the podium and give us your name and address, please. Thank you for being here at the meeting. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is Foster Hackett. I'm the owner of Advanced Design Contracting. I am the winner of the awarded bid for the Leduc project. The whole project itself, the way it started from the bid process, is very different from what we are used to. We've been in business for 10 years. The reason why Rita was having trouble finding individuals on certain projects that we have done is because of a lot of the projects that we've done have been non-disclosure statements. I would be breaking law if I gave away information on that. I brought pictures here today to show some of the projects I've done. The roof that we're sitting under, I was on this project when I was with John A. Dawson. Freedom Gray, it was a nickel-coated copper panel that I personally installed on this building itself. I think I'm more than qualified. I know I'm more than qualified. I've worked on military bases. I've worked on over 10 historic properties, which I also gave her. I've worked on city, state projects. We just finished roofing a building next to the state office legislative building, okay? We work on many, many different types of roofing systems, whether it's sheet metal, wood shake, slate, composite, single ply, flat roofs. We're a local union company. All of our employees go through a traineeship program. Dave here went through the program himself. They teach you every single aspect that there is in a roof. We are more than qualified. We gave a good, legitimate bid. We didn't price gouge like the other guy. I personally think the other guy's bid was so high is because he didn't know what he was bidding, or he was just price gouging. You guys can determine that. We gave a good, legitimate bid to do a good job. The current roofing and sheet metal that's on that building, I don't know who did it the last time. They did a terrible job. They didn't know how to solder. They used gutter seal on joints instead of actually using solder on the joints. The cedar shake is tight together. There should be a minimum 3/8 inch gap for the wood to expand and contract. They didn't give proper spacing. They didn't give a proper drip edge along the roof. There's a multitude of reasons why the roof has failed, and it boils to poor craftsmanship. Again, I don't know who did it to begin with, but we know how to roof. We've been roofing for a long time. I've got over 20 years of sheet metal experience. I've been on the cathedral in St. Paul as an apprentice, was my first major copper job. I've worked on every major university and just about every major building in downtown St. Paul and Minneapolis in the past 20 years. For this architect and the council to say that I am not fully qualified is preposterous and ridiculous. And I've never been so insulted in my life. When I looked at how this bid process went through, we came down here for the pre-bid. We tried to get the plans and the specs. We paid the money to the state for Anvia, and the architect didn't even have it up. We came down here where you guys should have had it available, and it wasn't available. Somehow, miraculously, it came online the next day, and we were able to access it. If we would have never came down and asked, we probably would have never been able to bid the job. It wasn't even a fair bidding process. There was one other guy out there besides the two of us. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you guys had a particular roofing contractor already picked out for this job. We've been on many historical jobs. This one came up, fits our wheelhouse. We gave a good bid, and we should be awarded this job. The fact that you guys want to reject my bid when it's a good, solid bid by a union-run local company is ridiculous. We've got people that we put to work every day and we need to keep them working. We employ people of color. I myself am a person of color. My business is a DBE, MBE certified here in the state of Minnesota. I'll give you guys some brochures and some pictures, if I may approach.
Sure, you can give the pictures.
Thanks.
I don't know how many people will be here, so I don't have enough to give me. Make sure the mayor gets me, no?
I'll take this one right here.
With short notice, these were pictures I was able to pull off on some of my past projects. As you can see, this one here is a strip mall.
Okay, why don't you give them to me, and then I'll just pass them
That's
along.
the
Then
city of
so
Coon
we get you at
Rapids
the
right there.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot one more. So again, a lot of the people that I've done projects for on these multi-million-dollar homes, I cannot give out their information. And I will not give out their information because I want to continue to work for them and their families. And a lot of them are elected officials. And a lot of them are pretty high-ranking people within the state themselves as entrepreneurs, surgeons, and whatnot. And they don't want to be bothered. They really don't. I'm sure nobody here wants to be bothered while they're sitting down eating or working to see if their guy is fully qualified when they already know that I am. What I would like to know is, does the city council have any questions for me as a contractor?
Okay, are you finished with your testimony, Mr. Hackett?
I am.
Okay, thank you for your testimony, and now we'll have that discussion on council. Councilmember Fulch.
Your Honor, and I just would like to state that when this project came before the council, I had actually brought this forward when it was requested to go to bid, that I had specifically asked that the qualifications for this particular project be increased because there weren't minimum qualifications that were provided to us. And so I specifically had asked for staff to look at further about making sure that there were min quals in there where the contractor had to have experience. And the language that was placed within the bid documents in the end was that you had to have a minimum of, you had to provide references for a minimum of 3 similar projects within the last 5 years. And I have seen tighter restrictions that also ask for, specific staff, what is their technical experience as well. And so, and I have to, sir, I'm not doubting you whatsoever that you feel very confident in your profession. And I agree with you. I was afraid of a contractor that wouldn't have been qualified to do exactly as you had described, that they would get on that beautiful house and that they would provide kind of a lower quality of work than that mansion deserves. And so I understand what you're saying. However, we're also in the position where we have to, trust in staff to look specifically at the projects that are provided within your bid document. And the 3 projects that you provided here are a home on Summit Avenue, Minneapolis Scotch, right? I'm not sure where that is. It says that it was elevator addition and roofing and sheet metal, and then Fort Snelling Barracks. And so, so we're in the position where we have a great deal of respect for Mr. Hinsman and the engineers that we have on service. And so they have to go by what you provide specifically within your bid. And if you are saying that you personally have experience, for instance, on this building or on a state office building or something of that nature, that may be your experience, but it has to be specifically for the company within the last 5 years. And so if you feel if you feel that, you would like that opportunity to put your best foot forward, when this does go back out for bid, you are more than welcome to rebid and place those projects that do show similar work, because the Leduc Mansion is, what is it? American Gothic Revival, built in 1870. And you look at the building and that's some kind of roof that's on it. I mean, I'm a layman and I can understand it looks very complicated, and we were provided the design work and it was very impressive. And so, I support the staff in their analysis and what they have provided, and I would encourage you to rebid again, and not to take it personally, because the city is required to follow statutes in regards to competitive bidding, and staff can only go by what's provided within the bid documents and the references that they speak to directly. And so perhaps next time, if you feel that you have a better, more similar project as the Leduc, to put that forward and ask whoever you can ask for the references, just to give them a heads up, that just to verify the work.
Is that a motion?
Yes, Your Honor. I would make a motion to honor the recommendations of staff, with the caveat that perhaps the write-up could have been a little more transparent in providing specifics as to who the bidders were, the bid amounts, and then the reasoning for the low bidder to be found non-responsive.
Okay. The reject bids, motion by Councilmember Foltz, and to rebid the project. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Councilmember Liefeld. Is there further discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. Okay, next, council, under community development, we have, for the purposes of discussing an offer to purchase city property at the northwest corner of Pleasant and Highway 55, this city council will be going into closed-door session. And then, once we're done discussing this issue, the doors will be reopened and we will be back in open session. I don't know how long that's going to take, but it shouldn't be an inordinate, a long amount of time. So I will ask council that we move to recess so that we may go into closed-door session for that purpose. Councilmember Vaughn makes that motion to do so, seconded by Councilmember Brox. All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Thank you. put that bandana on, I know you anywhere. Okay, council, we are back in open door session. Council, we are under the authorization letter of interest to purchase at the Northwest County of Pleasant Highway 55, and I'll seek a motion. Councilmember Brox makes that motion to approve, second by Councilmember Balsanic. That motion is before the body. Is there any further discussion to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, council, next is comments from the audience. And I don't think we're going to get much. Comments from the audience. Seeing no comments from the audience, council, announcements. Announcements, council. Okay, Councilmember Fulch?
Your Honor, I just wanted to bring up, I had one other item to add to the agenda today, but because I pulled so many things from the consent agenda, I didn't bring it forward. But for the next agenda, I plan on bringing up the issue of road blight and weeds that are on Vermillion Street.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to share the little visual presentation that I put together with the rest of the council members so that they have a chance to look at that before the meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that announcement.
Thank you.
Councilmember, Melanie?
Your Honor and Councilmember Fulch was good enough to share the presentation. We did have it queued up for tonight, and I just wanted to let the council know that staff is having a meeting with MnDOT on Friday, and one of the issues that we're going to be visiting with them is kind of general road condition and weeds along the.
Pictures too, right?
Yep. So we'll be sharing that, pass that information along.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other announcements, council? Councilmember Vaughn?
Just that I'll be representing the city at Red Rock Commission on Thursday at 4:30 at Newport City Hall.
Okay. Are they going to ask you to resign? Good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, council, any other announcements?
Oh.
Councilmember Fulch?
Just one thing. I just wanted to recognize that on the consent agenda, we had the resignation of our planning commission chair, Adam, and I just wanted to recognize him for the contributions that he's provided to our city for the last 6 years. When we were running last fall, I had the privilege to get to know him just a little bit. No offense, Joe. He really is just a smart young man, and I had asked him if it would be okay to sit down and ask him for his perspective about how things are going on the planning commission, and if he sees any room for improvement, any suggestions as he's leaving our city. And so if anyone else would be interested in having a coffee with Adam, please let me know. And otherwise, I just wanted to thank Adam Estenson for his contributions to our city.
Okay, thank you very much, and I think we might be recognizing him later when his term ends. We usually have him in, so that'll be good. Okay. Okay, yeah, we'll see. All right. Thank you. Any other announcements, council? Okay, I just have a few announcements. On Wednesday, August 23rd, this Wednesday at 7:30 a.m., the Planning Committee of the Council, chaired by Councilmember Vaughn and also Councilmembers Balsanic and Fulch, they're going to have two topics. One, the downtown parking standards, a presentation proposed options to amend the calculation of off-street downtown parking, and also the expansion of existing industrial park land use. So those two items will be before the Planning Committee of the Council on Wednesday morning at 7:30 a.m. On Monday, August 28th at 7 p.m., the Planning Commission will be meeting here in Council Chamber. Monday, September 4th, of course, is Labor Day, so we wish, on behalf of the council, everyone at home a very safe and fun Labor Day weekend, so to everyone. On Tuesday, then, on September 5th, Tuesday, 7 p.m., the City Council will be meeting next. And on Wednesday, September 6th, Council, I want to remind you that we have planned our City Council portraits for our new City Council picture. With this new council, we'll be meeting at 6:30 at Levy Park. Okay? 6:30 at Levy Park. We have no other business before the council. A motion to adjourn is in order. Councilmember Brox makes that motion, second by Councilmember Liefeld. That's a non-debatable motion. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails, and we are adjourned. Thank you.